Hello again, everybody. This is Mr. Everything, and welcome back to our second video in the construction of our Dragon airship. Now what we've got here laid out is some cardboard box strips. I just take a simple cracker box and I peel off the corners and the sides. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to basically get rid of all four sides. And luckily these boxes are perforated, so they just come off real easy. What we're doing here by making these, what I'm going to use this cardboard for is to make a frame for the hot air balloon, and then we're going to go ahead and construct the hot air balloon using a type of paper mache technique. Okay, now right here we've got my scissors, and I'm cutting out strips. I'm just showing you how I did it. I don't need all these strips. All I need is one more to finish the top band. And right there I'm just going to apply a little glue right there to the tip. And I'm using tacky glue so it'll hold almost immediately and it'll dry very quickly. And then I'm just putting a strip. Now I had previously measured this by making one strip, and then I made a circle approximately 10 inches in diameter, and then it pretty much I determined, okay, this is how many strips I need, approximately how long it needs to be to make 4 circles approximately 10 diameters. So you can make as many strips as you want. The minimum you need is going to be 3, but the more you do, the sturdier it's going to be. Now what I'm going to do here is use tacky glue and paper clips and this to make a ring. I'm basically going to make a long ring out of this. I'm going to go in around the outside edge, over the top, and across the back. And then I have one extra. I thought about making a ton of these, but I stopped at 4, thinking that was probably all I needed. Alright, so I was thinking I was going to bend this a little bit because it's dry enough, and then I'm going to make the circle like this. I'm going to glue it together, and then I'm just going to hold the circle together using a paper clip. Put some tacky glue on the tip there, wrap this over so that and then I've got my 1-inch grid right there to make it easy for me to measure the 10-inch circle. It wound up being about 9.5 inches. It can be, but then I was thinking to myself, you know, I can stretch it out to 10, or what I'm going to do is with the addition of all the paper mache that I'm going to put on there, it is going to make the balloon bulkier. This is just the internal skeleton. This is the frame inside the balloon that you don't see. Okay, and then I reach for my paper clips. While I'm reaching for my paper clips, I go ahead and put a couple of bottles of glue here just to hold it while I go get my paper clips. Whoops. Okay, let's put this back. Alright, now I've got all 4 rings, one right inside the other. The reason why I did that was it helps make them all the same size, and also if I assemble this sphere the way I'm going to do it, I can gradually work from the inside out, and then each layer of the circle will fit perfectly on the outside of each other layer of the circle. And that's one reason why I try to keep these in relative order, so I know which one's just a fraction of an inch bigger than the previous one. I let these dry, okay? I don't just stick them together and then start working with them. I do let them dry for about 30 minutes or so. Okay, so the first one's going to be a lot like that. It's going to be a T. Just the top and the bottom. I'm going to put some glue there, and then I'm going to put a paper clip in there again. There you go. Glue it together. And that should hold the glue just tight enough so that it will dry. And then I'll glue the opposite side, but what I need to do there is kind of eyeball it and make sure that I'm putting it centered. I need to put both sides, the left and right and the top and bottom, needs to be centered. So even, I need to make it an even distance on both sides. There we go. And now I'm eyeballing it, trying to make it even, round. It looks good. Maybe a little bit of shuffling. Yeah, a little bit of adjusting. And then once I'm confident that I like what I've got, I'm just going to paper clip it like this. And that looks pretty good. Maybe a little shift here. Yeah, okay. And then I'm going to put another piece across the other way. And again, this is just a skeleton. Okay, so this piece is going to go across that way. Okay, and I'm actually going to do two pieces that way. And as soon as I get both of them done, I'll be right back. Alright, so now I've got this sphere made, and I'm just putting the last paper clip on to hold it all together. And you can kind of see that you could probably put a couple more on here. I just got to glue all the sides together. But you could put a couple more strips on there to make it even more sturdy. It's just that for expedition of this video, and the fact that it's just going to be a temporary thing in my game, I didn't really feel like I needed to put too much effort into it. But I don't know. It might be one of those things that the players hang on to for a long time, and if that's the case, then I'm glad I'm putting a little extra effort into it. But yeah, you can see what I've done there. I made a little ball. Okay, so now we're going to do a little paper mache action with it. Let's go ahead and start that. Okay, I'm just kind of wanted to show you that this balloon here is going to be on top of my ship, above where the fire elemental is, and that's going to keep the balloon, inflated. I'm going to let that dry for a few minutes, and then we'll be back to do the next step. Alright, so in the blue bowl, what you see now is about a third of it is full of water, and then I'm going to put another third of Elmer's, and what that's going to do is going to be about a 50-50 mix of Elmer's and water, and I'm going to use my brush to stir it up. Now underneath my bowls, you'll notice that I've got some wax paper, and that's so that if I make any mistakes or if I drip any of the Elmer's glue on anything, it won't stick. It'll be on the wax paper. Okay, now it does take a little bit of time to stir this up, because you don't want it to be you don't want to have chunks. You want it to be milky. You want it to make it look like you just poured some milk in there. So you want to keep stirring until it basically all the chunks are removed. All right, so then what we're going to do now is we're going to take some strips of paper and we're going to coat them in this Elmer's water concoction. The strips of paper that I'm using is from an easel pad. It's easel paper. It's kind of it's thinner than your like loose leaf paper, but not so thin as it's not like tracing paper. It's a little bit thicker than that. It's easel paper. All right, so here we go. Let's get some of that easel paper right here. Just a strip of paper, fairly flexible. It looks like it'll fit on where I need it to go. And so now what I do is I put it in the glue. And I completely coat it with glue. Later on in this process, I realize I don't need this much coating, this much glue on it. There we go. Ta-da! Okay, and then I'm just going to do this a number of times more. Basically, I just run it through, I'm just going to put it haphazardly all over the ball. I use the brush to kind of help submerge it under the glue so that the top and bottom of the paper gets coated in glue. And understand that dealing with this liquid glue and making direct contact with the paper, you're going to get glue on your fingers. It's going to happen. You're going to drip glue onto the table. It's going to happen. Okay. You got to make sure you have enough strips, and I can tell you right now through experience I did not have enough strips to do the top and the bottom. I thought I had cut out enough strips to do the top and the bottom, and what it wound up being was only enough strips to do the top. So I had to go back and get another sheet of easel paper and cut it up into strips to get enough paper to coat the whole thing, the whole bottom. Also, I skipped a step, which I'm going to go back and do later, and you might see this in the video, I'm not sure. But what I do is I take 2 sheets of easel paper and I wad them up into balls, and I stuff them into the inside loosely. I fill the inside with crumpled up easel paper on the inside of this sphere here, this balloon. That's when I started right there. You can see I started to hit it with some glue, and then I used my fingers to kind of wipe off all the excess glue because I figured that was going to help it dry a little bit. Now what I'm trying to do is leave it on top of the cardboard so that the cardboard frame holds it out and it doesn't sag. And you can see it dripping onto the see that right there, and then I just flip it over, and then I use my finger to kind of squeegee off all the excess glue. And right there you can kind of see it's mostly water and glue. Yeah, there we go. And I'm just laying it on there. I'm not trying to be, and right now I'm kind of following the spines of the frame. But later on, once you start doing the second layer, you just start doing it in haphazard directions, left to right, all over the place. But since this is the first layer, I'm just trying to stay with the frame, allowing it to kind of extend the frame out. And some sheets are wider than others, and that's just basically because I eyeballed the cutting. I didn't use like a ruler or measure or anything. It's not really important. And now remember, now I don't know if you know this, but this balloon as part of the airship is actually made of dragon skin or dragon hides. A red dragon has made this, or maybe some followers of the red dragon, some of his minions, made this out of other dragons that he had killed. And so it's okay if it's haphazard because it's just hide. It's going to be, think of it like, um, not furs, but kind of like animal skins. Alright, now at a certain spot here, I'm going to start filling up all the different holes. Okay, so let me get this top done, and then I'll be right back. Now again, don't try to rush the process. Just go ahead and gradually fill in all the holes. Now what I did notice was that it had like a splice here where I jumped to where I start cramming the insides. Okay, now you can see that there's a couple of pages of easel inside that I watered up. And then what I did now was I took the bottom and I crimped it together and I put a rubber band to hold it in shape, just to kind of give you an impression of how the balloon is going to look. That's the part of the balloon that actually goes right above the fire, and that's what fills it in. Okay, so I'm going to let that dry a little bit and then we'll be back. Now I've put some glue, or I will put some glue on the Austin pages there to hold it up against, hold it down against the wadded easel paper. Okay, so I take the rubber band off and that's fine. So now what I need to do is put the paper mache all along the bottom as well, not just the top. And there has been some time in between the top and the bottom, allowing the top to dry before I started working on the bottom, because you know, you don't want to set it down and have it glued to the table or something like that. Alright, so let me go ahead and start applying this to the bottom side. And once I get that coated, I'll be right back. Alright, I got the top and the bottom finished, and I have it sitting inside a peanut can, just so that I could work on the top even more. Now I cut out a bunch more strips, and I cut them a little bit shorter to represent that dragon hide that we were talking about. It is pretty hard. It is pretty sturdy. You can't hear this, but see how that little piece sticks out like that? Don't worry, because the second layer is actually going to cover any imperfections. There's an actual hole right there, and there's a couple of different places that look like caves and caverns or whatever, and it's hard. But it does need a second layer to fix all these little holes and gaps and stuff like that in the paper mache. So I just go over it again with these little pieces. Now this time I just coat the bottom, I flip it over, and then I squeegee it, and by squeegeeing it, it actually coats the entire piece of paper with glue. And right now I'm just laying it on there, and I'm laying it on there nice and soft, so I'm not pushing it on. I'm just making sure that it covers any of the bumps. I look over the entire balloon, and what I'm looking for are imperfections that I need to fix, and that's what this second coat is all about. It's fixing those imperfections. And this is the same glue water mixture that I've been using the entire time. I have not mixed another batch of glue. This is all the same glue. This is actually the second day, and I'm using the same batch of glue. The water has evaporated slightly, causing the glue to be more, what's the word I'm looking for? Sticky? Yeah, so it's a little bit more sticky and a little less runny, which is really good for the second coat. Yeah, I can see there's a spot there that needs to be fixed. Okay, so I'm going to continue on making this paper mache balloon. I will prime it, and you will see it in the next video, and we'll paint it and assemble the model completely in the third video. So I appreciate you guys coming out and checking out this part of the video. I am going to leave you here while I do this, and I'll see you in just a couple of minutes with the third video. And if you like this video, please like it. If you want to subscribe, please subscribe to the channel. If you want to help support the channel, hit the PayPal me link in the description below. And I'll leave you with me finishing up this balloon. And I'll see you next time.